Yo, what's going on, everybody? So obviously, because this is a tier list, I gotta give a trigger warning. So normally I give spoiler warnings, but this is gonna be a trigger warning because I already know a lot of you guys are gonna disagree with this. I don't personally care. This is so freaking fun to do. This is just my opinion. So what I'm gonna be doing on this one is I'm going to be ranking every single Naruto movie ever, and I had so much fun just doing the research for this, because if you guys know my Naruto story, you guys know I got in via the manga. I don't particularly care for the anime, and so because of that, I skipped a lot of the movies when the movies were coming out, and there were only a few that I'd actually seen. So I've gone back and I've watched every Naruto movie, and so I don't have nostalgia or anything like that. And when I do get to a movie that I've clearly got some type of nostalgic feelings for, I'll be able to tell you guys like, hey, this is nostalgia or whatnot. So getting into the actual rankings themselves, so number one is obviously is going to be effing awesome. Okay, effing awesome, that's the highest tier that you can go with. Very good, that's self-explanatory. Good is just saying that like I enjoyed the movie, not necessarily went crazy over it, but it was just a fun movie to kind of go through. Below average is one of those movies where I watched it, it was kind of cool to watch it, but at the same time it's gonna be one of those films I'm probably never gonna watch over again. And garbage is self-explanatory, and if you've been following me from as far back as Kryptonian is saying, you already know what movie's gonna be in the garbage tier. We're gonna take out the trash on this one, baby. Alright, man, so just getting right into it. The way I'm gonna be doing this, I'm gonna be doing it in chronological order. So I'm gonna be going from like the Naruto movies to the Shippuden movies. So I'm just gonna be going like in the order that they came out. So starting off with Naruto movie 1, so the Clash in the Land of Snow. This was a movie that I enjoyed it, but I didn't necessarily go crazy over it. There were parts of it I thought were very well done, and like this was a movie that I hadn't seen before I watched it. Okay, like I had seen a few clips, I had seen some of the pictures online, but I never just sat down and watched the movie. So I'm gonna put this one in good, and the only reason why I can't put it below average is I thought that there were elements in this, in particular getting the opportunity to have Naruto go to another country and to find out that, hey, Kakashi once went to this land and he did it as a member of the Anbu, and just to see more about Kakashi's past, I thought that was really cool. I thought it was cool. I like the idea of the princess in this movie being someone that I know for me I could relate to, because she's dealing with stuff in her past, and the way that she's dealing with it is drinking and running away from her past, and she meets Naruto, and it's through those interactions that Naruto is able to kind of win her back over. So I mean, I like that. I'm gonna put this in good. I can't go very good because I don't think it's a very good movie, but I mean, I thought it was good. I thought it was enjoyable. Now, Naruto movie 2, I think this was the Stone of Jalel. I didn't care for this movie. I didn't care for it. I'm gonna tell you right now. I know a lot of people like it. I didn't care for the movie, and I'll explain to you guys why. So this one I'm gonna put in below average, and the reason why I didn't personally think that this was a awesome movie or good movie or a very good movie is when I was watching it, there were moments when I found myself asking, why should I care about these characters? Like, obviously you care about Naruto, you care about Sakura, you care about Shikamaru, but at the same time, like when you get to that whole thing with the caravan and how like they're kind of walking through and there's this weasel and everything, and the guy that's like Naruto's fighting, I'm like, why do I care about any of these characters? Like, you could see the whole thing with the betrayal and everything coming from a mile away. I didn't find any of the type of conflicts to be anything that I got super invested in. I actually thought it was kind of cookie cutter. I did think it was cool. I did think this was cool, and this is what kept it from being garbage. I did like being able to see how Shikamaru could handle being on a Chunin mission when everything kind of completely collapses. I thought that was really cool. I like how Shikamaru was just coming up with adjustments as the mission was going forward. I did like how when you get that moment where Naruto seemingly goes missing, that Shikamaru keeps a calm head and he's kind of steering Sakura in the right direction. I thought that was pretty cool. I think that this movie really shows how much Shikamaru has grown as a character. Now, because of timeline purposes, I mean, I don't think this would be too much further after the events of the Sasuke retrieval arcs. I mean, if that's where this gets placed in the timeline, I think that would be the case since he's a Chunin. I mean, I thought that was pretty cool, man. I thought that was pretty cool that Shikamaru got the boot. But I mean, this movie movie really suffers from a lack of a solid conflict, and it really suffers from having a likable antagonist. Like, that was something I really just found myself saying, okay, next movie. I kind of had to force myself to get through it. Now, the next movie, now this one, this is where I start triggering people. So I'm gonna put Naruto movie 3, The Crescent Moon Kingdom. I'm putting that one in freaking awesome. I'm putting that one in freaking awesome because this was the first Naruto movie that I watched like in chronological order that I found myself entertained from start to finish. Like, I really like this. I really liked it. You know, there were a few moments where I found myself saying, I really don't like this little kid with the glasses, man. I don't like him, man. I wish Naruto just let this kid drown. Like, I live reacted to quite a few scenes from this movie on my Twitter account, so you guys know, like, I was genuinely like marking the hell out when I was watching this movie, man. Like, this was so good, man. And like, I like the designs. Like, I personally enjoy Naruto's design better than what we got in the manga. I love Sakura's design in this, and I love Rock Lee's design. And I mean, just being able to see these three characters all in a mission together with Kakashi being the sensei, dog, this was like a dream team for me, because I didn't think that these three characters interacting together would have so much potential as far as being able to pop on screen. But you got these moments of lightheartedness. You got to see some epic Rock Lee action. You got to see Sakura kind of pulling her weight and throwing down in the fights. I mean, just every time these characters were on screen together, I loved it. But then when they got broken up throughout the movie, this wasn't something I felt about Sasuke in the Clash in the Land of Snow movie. Every time they got broken up, like they stood out. They stood out. Like, Sasuke in the first movie felt like a placeholder. In this movie, Rock Lee just felt like he just bounded off the screen. I loved it. Like, I love the whole idea of there being a coup d'etat that's happening inside of the Crescent Moon Kingdom. I thought that was cool. I thought the whole thing with the prince basically learning the lesson that his ex-wife was trying to teach him, that the mother of his child was trying to teach him, I thought that was cool. I love the moment where his just big tubbly butt was just being forced over the ledge, and he was about to get hung, and his son all of a sudden goes from being just a whiny, possessive, annoying brat to growing a set of balls. I love seeing that, and honestly, I love seeing Naruto just get beat down in this movie. I love seeing Naruto get beat down in this movie. That was an epic beat down. I love that, man. I know some people probably like, why would you watch a movie to just see Naruto get beat down? I mean, I've made it no mistake. Like, the version of Naruto I love is Hokage Naruto. Kid Naruto's cool in spades, but Kid Naruto's not my favorite character of the series. So, and there are times where he just annoys me. So seeing Naruto just get his face punched in, I love that part, man. And I love like how you get that moment where Kakashi's just going super badass, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, Sharingan weakness, we gotta induce plot to take him out. It annoyed me for a second, but then at the same time, it was one of those moments where I was like, nah, I like that right there, because it gives us a chance to see Rock Lee and Sakura and Naruto have their moments. I love Sakura and Rock Lee's fights in the final act of the movie where Sakura's fighting that chick. I thought that was pretty cool. I love how Rock Lee was getting tossed around as well, but Rock Lee just persevered through it. Like, I love that, man. This was a freaking awesome movie. Like, since I've watched this movie, I watched it 3 more times, so I love this movie. All right, so going with the first Naruto Shippuden movie, this is gonna be Naruto Shippuden movie 1, and this is a movie that, oh man, I've gone back and forth on where I'm gonna rank it, right? Like, I didn't sit down and just write these lists out before I actually did it. I'm doing just off the top of my head, so that way I can give you guys an honest thoughts and everything on this. But for me, Naruto Shippuden 1, I like the concept of kind of teasing people with will Naruto die? Like, I remember when this movie came out, that was one of the huge promotional things that was on there. I like the idea. I think it was Morio, the demon that was on there. I like the idea of a priestess, the whole thing with the land of ogres. I like how just you had Tsunade kind of taking charge. I like how you get to see Neji on a mission, how Neji was just throwing shade at Naruto. That was so awesome to see. I mean, this was another movie I would say is a good movie, but it was almost a below average movie. And the only reason I say it was almost a below average is I felt like we could have got more information about Morio. Like, I felt like there could have been a little more fleshing out when it came shame that. I thought the idea of Neji being able to see the different chakra natures that are going inside of the bodies of the dude's subordinates, I thought that was cool. I thought that that was cool. I like that first fight scene that you get when they're trying to escape with the priestess. I thought that was freaking awesome. I thought Rock Lee's fight in this movie was good. I thought every character that was a part of Neji's team had their moments where they really shined, and like the interactions between Naruto and I think it was Priestess Shion, I really enjoyed that. And like at the end when she was saying like, yeah, I gotta bring about the next generation of priestess, and Naruto's like, yeah, I'll help you fulfill that duty. That was pretty cool, man. That was pretty cool. You know, I couldn't go very good. Like I said, I struggled because at any given moment I could kind of rank this movie between very good to below average, and so I figured, okay, a good rating would probably be best for this movie. Again, I know that's gonna trigger some people because I know this isn't a lot of people's favorite movie. Now, Naruto Shippuden movie 2, Bonds. Now, I had actually seen Bonds back in the day. I had seen Bonds and I didn't particularly care for it, and I said, well, let me see how I feel after the fact. And so I went back and I watched it several years later. I think it's been, what, 6 years since I've seen this movie. So I was like, okay, let me go back and watch this, and this is, you know, again, this is a movie, I'm gonna say it's below average. I thought that the pacing wasn't the best. I thought there were some really cool concepts, like with the Zero Tails. I thought that was good. I love that moment when Sasuke just throws some indirect shade at Hinata and just throws her onto that whole train thingy that has all the civilians being taken out. I thought that that was cool. I like the idea of just Konoha having more stuff from their past kind of thrown in there. I thought that was awesome. The idea of flying machines, I thought all that was very good concepts, but at the same time it was just like one of those things where I said, I don't necessarily think that this was fleshed out as good as it could have been. And the other thing that really weighed this movie down was, like, in every single one of these movies there's been a female protagonist outside of Naruto and the Crescent Moon Kingdom. Naruto meets a female character who is at the center of everything that's going on, and in this one, the redhead chick, I didn't really care for her. It was one of those things where, like, when Naruto and her are going back and forth about who's got the better sensei, it was one of those things where I was like, why do I care? Why do I care about you and your sensei? Like, I didn't think that there was enough built there. Like, I totally understood Naruto just standing for Jiraiya. I totally understood that because it was one of those things where, one, I'm a Jiraiya fanboy, and two, it's like, okay, I've seen it. But in a movie, when you do stuff like that, you have to at least build up to it. You have to build up to it to where people automatically latch onto it. And like I said, for me, it didn't necessarily do the job for me. So that's where I'm gonna come put that one. I almost went good. For this one, but again, it's one of those things where there was too much stuff where I felt like it was left on the table. Now, the next movie, I initially started to say it was a below average movie. This would be Naruto and the Will of Fire, Naruto Shippuden and the Will of Fire, but then I got to think about it and I said, you know what? I gotta go with good on this one. I gotta go with good because there was a lot of stuff I thought was executed very well. I like the idea of, you know, kind of repeating a lot of the history that happened with Kakashi Gaiden. I thought that that was really cool. I like the idea of someone taking Kekkei Genkai. I like that you got more information about Kakashi's youth. I thought that was really cool. I like how you see Naruto going up against Gaara and how Naruto is essentially looking at everything and he's teaching the same lesson that Obito taught to Kakashi and really to Team Kakashi when Obito seemingly lost his life. I thought that was really good. I like how everyone was just telling Naruto to back down, and yet Naruto never backed down in this. I mean, this was a movie I felt like it had more potential it could have reached, but it didn't underperform it either. It didn't underperform its potential. So I mean, like I said, this would be a really, really good movie. At the same time, it didn't necessarily check all those boxes to go very good, so it's got to be a good movie. Now, this next movie, unpopular opinion, because I've seen a lot of people say they don't like this, but I'm gonna go with my very first very good movie, which is Naruto Shippuden and the Lost Tower. I love this movie. I love this movie, and part of the reason why I really enjoy it is, one, you got to see Minato on one of his missions and leading the team. I thought that that was really cool, but the whole concept of going back in time and Naruto interacting with the princess from that era, I thought that was cool. The whole thing with Naruto running from those sky robots that were shooting all those laser beams, and Minato pretty much coming to the conclusion that, oh snap, this is actually my son, but because of the whole thing with time travel and everything, he can't really interact there. And then right when Naruto realizes, like, oh snap, this is my father, he ends up going right back to the present. I mean, this was really cool. And I mean, the female protagonist in this one, I really felt like this was the first movie where I was actively shipping Naruto with someone who I knew was going to be random filler character 4973331. Like, I knew this wasn't going to happen, and yet I was actively rooting for it. Like, I enjoyed the development with these two characters, from friendship to laying the foundation for something that could have been something more if Naruto would have stuck around that time period. I love that better than when we got the whole Naruto and Hinata stuff, and what you got with the teases of the Naruto and Sakura stuff and the Sasuke and Sakura stuff. I love that more than anything we got in canon. So I mean, screw it. I'm going really unpopular opinion. I'm gonna call this one a freaking awesome movie, because again, this is a movie I know I'm gonna go back and watch again. I know that a lot of people feel like it was slow paced, but I personally love the movies where it deals more with the character growth and it isn't necessarily just driven by action. I know this is a shonen, but I love this. I love this better. So I'm go freaking awesome. I've actually revised my opinion on this one. So Naruto movie 5, Blood Prison. This was a movie that I enjoyed the concept of a ninja prison. I really enjoyed the concept of a ninja prison, the whole thing with the seals and how you have all these different ninja who are working with Naruto, and then you find out that the chick in this one is actually Anbu from another village. I thought that that was really cool. I like the idea that Naruto was just played for stupid, and how Konoha and Killer Bee show up and they ate him. I love the final fight in this arc, or excuse me, in this movie. I love it. I love the third act of the movie. Only thing is I felt like the second act dragged on a little too much. It dragged on a little too much, and while I'm tempted to say that this was a good movie, I gotta say it's a bad movie because, or excuse me, a below average. So it's not necessarily bad, but it isn't really good either, and it's not good. In that when your second act is dragging on like it did, and so much of the third act relies on stuff that was revealed to us in the second act, it's one of those things where I felt like if it was maybe tidied up a little bit more, it could have been a very good movie. But with that being said, I did enjoy it though. So I mean, it's almost one of those things where like it's like a guilty pleasure. Like, I know the Fast and Furious movies are not good movies, and yet at the same time, those are movies that I absolutely love. Those are movies I love. Like, I've never failed to see one in the movie theaters, going all the way far back as the first one that came out, I think like 2001 or 2. So I mean, this was one of those movies where I'm gonna watch it again, even though I know that this probably ain't the best thing ever. So moving on to Naruto movie 6. So Naruto Road to the Ninja, and I'm gonna say this right now, there is some nostalgia that is playing into my ranking on this, because when I found out back in 2011 going into 2012 that Masashi Kishimoto was going to be involved with this movie. Now I know somebody's like, well, he's involved in every movie. That's not true. Like, Kishimoto does a few designs and he puts his name on the project, but that's the extent that Kishimoto is involved in a lot of the movies. Whereas with this one, you start seeing Kishimoto take a very hands-on approach, where Kishimoto does the storyboards for the movie, which is freaking huge, where Kishimoto's giving you information to use for the movie when you do the script, where he's doing all these designs, and a lot of the movie is incorporating a lot of the stuff that he couldn't do in the Naruto manga. I really enjoyed this one. I'm gonna make this one a very good movie. I know a lot of people aren't very high on this movie, so I'll explain why I have it as very good and not below average or not even garbage. So the reason why I personally think that this is a very good movie is I like the idea of seeing the alternate versions of the character. I thought that that was really cool. While it did kind of run that gimmick into the ground a little bit, it's also one of those things where I love how you see through the character interactions of how Naruto is seeing what life could have been like if he could have had his family, and if his if Minato wasn't Hokage, if Kushina wasn't the Jinchuriki, and he just had a normal family life. I thought that was cool. Like that scene where Naruto was looking through the photo book, that legit almost teared me up, man. Like I don't get worked up like that, and you guys know I'm not a huge fan of Naruto Uzumaki, and yet in that moment, because of everything the characters went through, when I first saw that, like that really hit me on some feels, man. That really hit me on some feels. And what I also like about this is how when the movie starts off, you see Sakura just berating Naruto. You see how she doesn't really care for her parents. She finds them annoying, and you see, which was really cool, by the way, that you actually see Sakura's parents in the movie. But then all of a sudden, she's going through the same thing that Naruto went through, and she at first is really happy she has nobody at home, that she can do what she wants, and then she comes home to an empty apartment and she starts getting lonely. Then when she decides to go speak to Naruto, probably with the intention of saying, like, I understand how you feel, all of a sudden she sees Naruto living his best life and living with his parents, and Sakura just has that far away lonely expression. I like how Obito's just watching everything. And what's so crazy about this is, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure that the Ninja Escapades OVAs had already come out at this point. So you saw the whole thing with Obito and Kushina, how Kushina and I think Naruto Storm Generations, how in those cutscenes that Kushina and Obito had a bit of a relationship, how they're kind of close, and how Obito eventually ripped the QB out of her. So seeing all that and kind of factoring all that in, I mean, it was just really nice to see that. It was also really nice to see how, even though they knew that, okay, we got to find a way to get back to the real world, because they got a slice of what the Infinite Tsukiyomi could offer, all of a sudden you see Naruto saying, like, I ain't too sure if I want to go back to the real world, and how Sakura wants to go back, but then she's seeing how happy Naruto is, and she's pushing back having that conversation with him. Like, I love that, and I love how you see the Akatsuki as mercenaries working on behalf of Konoha. I thought that was awesome, but what I really enjoyed about it is you get this moment where, through Naruto's interactions with the other characters and coming face to face with Menma Uzumaki, Naruto all of a sudden decides, like, you're not actually my parents. It was really nice to interact with you guys and to feel love and feel wanted, feel needed, but my father was the fourth Hokage. My father was a hero. I'm not throwing shade at you, dude, but you're not my father. And when Naruto puts on Minato's cloak, oh man, that was that like nostalgia's running so heavy on me right now. Like, I love this movie. I absolutely love this movie. So again, trigger warning. That said, I don't care. You guys know this is like the 5th tier list I've made, and I mean, I've had a couple of them that have genuinely pissed people off, and it's one of those things like opinions like assholes. Everyone has one. If you disagree with it, that's fine. If you agree with it, that's great. But that being said, so Naruto the Last. Oh man, where do I start with this movie? Where do I start with this movie? Oh my God. I'll preface my comments by saying that I love the novelization for the movie. I think the novel is really good. Like, if I could include the novel, I will put the novel at freaking awesome. I put the novel at freaking awesome. But the movie, I've genuinely, like, I went in theaters to see this movie, okay? I went in theaters to see this movie because they were hyping this up when Naruto was running its last few chapters on Weekly Shonen Jump. I want to say like the last 20 chapters. They were doing all kinds of promos saying this takes place after Naruto, this is the conclusion of the Naruto story. So it kind of spoiled, like, okay, Naruto's not gonna die. So when Madara ripped out the QB out of Naruto, I think that happened around this time, but at the very least you knew that Sasuke wasn't gonna kill Naruto. You knew that Naruto wasn't gonna kill Sasuke, that they're gonna survive everything that happened. It kind of spoiled the ending for us, but you know, I get it. You know, they wanted to put this movie out after the manga ended to kind of capitalize on everything. But dude, I saw this in theaters and I fell asleep by the time they got to the cave where Taneri had that Genjutsu trap waiting. I was so bored watching this movie. I paid money, went to an early showing of the movie, did not work that day, did not have class in college that day, went to go see it, and I fell asleep. I fell asleep, and when I woke up, I literally woke up to the scene where Naruto was splitting the moon in half, and I was like, what the hell did I miss? Like, that's how bored bored I was watching this movie. Okay, and I said, well, you know what, maybe after I watch it again I'll get my opinion changed. Didn't happen. I said, well, maybe if I try and watch it after reading the novel, my opinion on this movie would change. And I actually watched the movie all the way through without falling asleep. And I still stand exactly what I did before. This is a garbage movie. This was utter garbage. This was garbage. I'd rather watch the Boruto Hidden Miss Field Trip arc before I watch this movie again. Like, I do not like this movie. I think Toneri was a wasted character who had a lot more potential to be used. I hate the fact that we didn't get a lot more with the Suzuki clan. Like, oh snap, Hamura's clan, they're on the moon and they're keeping track of her. Get the hell out of here. I didn't buy into that. The movie doesn't do a good job of explaining everything the novel did. Now, the other thing is, it's like Toneri, it could have been replaced with some random ninja that has affection for Hinata and kidnaps her, and you have the same damn plot. Just take out the whole thing with the movie having the moon break up and it's the same thing. I hate the fact that you had an Suzuki clan member who was essentially used, so Naruto realizes that when he gets around Hinata that he gets a little feeling in the bottom of his pants and he realizes, oh snap, I'm attracted to Hinata. It took a genjutsu, which, don't even get me started on the fact that it's a genjutsu and Naruto's a perfect Jinchuriki, but he couldn't break it. How convenient. And it takes a scarf linking the two together, and how Naruto gets Hinata's feelings and emotions, but you didn't have any inkling of a realization that you love Hinata until that happened. This was a piss poor job of explaining the Naruto Hinata pairing. Like, I get it. Masashi Kishimoto, when this movie was coming out, was saying like, I'm not really good at explaining romance and writing female characters. That's the whole reason why shoujo writers assisted on this. That's the whole reason why I think it's Kazuka is the female writer who actually oversaw the writing of Naruto the Last. A lot of people think Kishimoto wrote it. That's not true. Yes, it's promoted as an original story by Masashi Kishimoto. All Kishimoto did is say, this is Toneri's obligations, this is his motives, this is his design. He looked over the final script, made some editorial suggestions, and then everything was written by Kazuka. So I mean, this ain't a Kishimoto story. And I'll say this, if this was a shoujo, this wouldn't even be a good shoujo. Like, Inuyasha has a much better plot than Naruto the Last. Like, this was a horrible movie. This was horrible. I know that anytime I say anything negative about Hinata, which Cream Pie Hinata merch is coming soon, I'm getting the character designed right now. But even when I say anything negative about Hinata, people they just roast me for it. They roast me. You're such a Sakura stan. Sakura ain't even my favorite character, yo. I just don't like poorly written stuff. I don't like Naruto the Last. So I'm gonna end up going on a rant about Naruto the Last. I don't want to get upset doing this tier list. So where would I rank Naruto Boruto the movie? This is another one where nostalgia is gonna come into play. So initially when I watched the movie, and I did my review back in October or November of 2015 on Kryptonian Saiyan, which I'll probably take that review off of off of private. That was one of the first videos I did on that channel, so the quality isn't the best, microphone quality isn't the best, but you know, that was a movie that when it came out I was really hyped. I was really hyped about the movie, enough so I did a spoiler review and a spoiler free review of the movie. So I mean, with Naruto the Last, I love the idea of Naruto being presented a problem that he can't solve via busting people up via jutsu. This was a problem that Naruto needed to actually work through his issues, that he needed to work to communicate with his son, because contrary to popular belief, yes, Naruto provides a house for his son. Yes, Naruto gives him everything that he wants, but Naruto in this movie was not a good father. Neither was Boruto a good son. There was a huge communication gap. I love how Sasuke, of all people, is telling Boruto, like, look, you know, Naruto was talentless, he was a loser, immature, I couldn't stand him, but all those things are what made him to be Hokage. Like I love that moment when they're just sitting by the campfire and you see that flashback and you see Swing Sama as the MVP when Naruto's sitting on the swing. I love that moment. I love that moment. I thought that was cool. I thought that I thought that Momoshiki and Kinshiki were characters that could have been fleshed out a little better, but at the same time it pays off what we got in Naruto Gaiden, where Sasuke reveals that there's a threat that is beyond Kaguya. We find out why Kaguya was building an army. It's because of these guys. The final fight with Naruto and Sasuke versus Fused Momoshiki, I personally love that a little better than the anime version. Again, it might be nostalgia, but just seeing the utter beatdown. Like in the anime, Momoshiki at times got the upper hand on fatigued Naruto and Sasuke. At times he got the upper hand, but in this one, in this movie, you saw them just completely demolish him. And I love how when they're walking up and Boruto's just looking at the backs of Naruto and Sasuke, I remember being in the movie theater and everyone just started clapping. I'm not even joking at this point. Everyone started clapping when Sasuke's taking off the cloak and the cloak is fluttering and you see Naruto activate his QB chakra mode. Like, that was so awesome to see. Like, everyone started clapping, and when Sasuke just kicked Momoshiki right through the debris and everything, everyone was cheering. This was so awesome when Naruto grabbed that sword and started swinging the sword, dude. Oh my god. I was probably one of the loudest dudes in the movie theater because I had always wanted to see Naruto with a sword, man. Like, ever since I saw the artwork on one of the Naruto covers when Naruto was a samurai, I'd always want to see Naruto wielding a sword, and just seeing that and seeing how Naruto and Sasuke, even though they had not fought side by side in so long, they were in perfect sync of each other. And you just see Boruto with this expression like, oh my god, is my father really that strong? I was standing out at that point, man. That was so awesome. That was so freaking awesome. That was so freaking awesome. And what I personally love about the ending of the movie, if we never would have got Boruto and Naruto Next Generations, which I'm really glad we got the Boruto manga. Don't get me wrong. I'm very glad we got the Boruto manga. I think the anime has potential, but they got to start adapting more of the novels and more of the manga content. But I got to say, if we never got anything else, and we just ended everything with Naruto and Boruto having that father-son fist bump and them going their separate ways, and they've agreed to want to work things out where Naruto's like, look, I know I'm a workaholic. I'll work harder to be a better father. I'll work harder to take more into your training. And then you have Boruto looking at his father saying like, yeah, I guess I wasn't the best son either. I would really like to hear more about your past. I want to hear more about your stories. Like, that was so beautiful to see that conflict build up from the very beginning of the movie, where Boruto's trying to break out of the shadow of his father and how he resents his father. You see bits and pieces of why he doesn't like Naruto, and then you see father and son work through the faults on both ends, and they end with that fist bump. That was so beautiful. That was so beautiful. And I like the idea of just ending. I think this was post-credits, if I'm not mistaken, where Mitsuki is saying like, yeah, Orochimaru was my father, and you see Orochimaru looking out over the village. Like, I love this. I knew when Naruto, the New Era project was announced, and they said that Boruto movie was going to be the last thing for the New Era project, I knew right away, like, okay, they're testing this to see if Boruto can hold its own story. Like, I personally felt like Sarada should have been the main character for the new generation, but the Naruto story is basically the Uchiha story, so I get why they didn't do that. But the movie did really well in Japan, it did really well internationally, and therefore we got the whole Boruto series in the Animes Weekly. So I'm gonna call this one very good. Very tempted to say freaking awesome, but if I said freaking awesome, that would just be my nostalgia kicking in. That would be my nostalgia kicking in, and I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't rank it just purely based off nostalgia. The one thing that I feel like is keeping it from being a freaking awesome movie is if we would have got more about Momoshiki and Kaguya's relationship and more about how the Sushi clan hierarchy works, I think that that could have made this a freaking awesome movie. Because one of the things that people went into this movie expecting was to find out what the threat behind Kaguya was, and then to find out why Kaguya was so afraid that she needed to build an army, and why did she come to the planet in the first place. Like, those were some questions that I felt like the movie could have done a better job of explaining. So that's the only thing I'm gonna say that's gonna keep it from being a freaking awesome movie. But I want to know from you guys. So this is my definitive Naruto movie tier list. I want to know from you guys, what are your favorite Naruto movies? Rank the Naruto movies. So all of the Naruto Shippuden movies and all of the Naruto movies, let me know which ones are your favorite, which ones are your worst, and rank them from 1 to, what's this, 2, 4, 7, 10, 1 to 11. 1 to 11. 1 to 11, rank it with 1 being the best, 11 being the worst. Let me know what your favorite movies are. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and leave your suggestion for what tier list you'd like me to see do next. But thanks for watching, guys. Have an awesome day.